Good morning, Year 4s. Okay, in this lesson, we are looking at exploring some of the key themes of a text. And our text is Edward Tulane. And key themes just means the key ideas. So what ideas does this book, this story, explore? Okay, so what ideas come up again and again in this story? Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and your starter, is the idea that this quote from the old doll at the end of the story in Lucius's shop sums up the whole theme of Edward Tulane. So, the quote is this: "If you have no intention of loving or being loved, then the whole journey is pointless." The old doll says this to Edward at the end of the book, very near the end of the book, when he's in Lucius's shop and he's given up all hope. He doesn't want to be bought by a new owner. He's given up hope. He doesn't want to be loved anymore. Now, the first thing I would like you to do is I would like you to think about this quote. What do you think this quote means? What do you think it means? So, can you pause the video? It might take you 30 seconds, it might take you 2 or 3 minutes to think about it. Have a think about this quote, and I'd just like you to write down a sentence to explain what you think this quote means in your own words. Okay, pause the video and off you go. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you have written down a sentence to explain this quote in your own words. So, what do I think this quote means? If you have no intention of loving or being loved, then the whole journey is pointless. I think the old doll is trying to say that the point of life is loving or being loved, or loving and being loved. And the whole journey means your life. Okay, so if you have no intention, or if you don't want to love or be loved, then life is pointless. Love is the meaning of life. That's what I think this quote means. I'm looking forward to looking at your answers for what you thought it means too, for what you think it means too. Secondly, your second job. How does the story give this message? So how does the story give us the message that love is the point of life? So once again, pause the video and I'd like you to write down your answer, please. Off you go. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've got an answer for that. Now, I have written down my answer to that underneath this box, and I'm going to share my answer with you. So how does the story give the message that love is the point of life? So I have written, at first, Edward doesn't love anybody. He then goes on a miraculous journey where he feels a range of emotions. He begins with fear for himself when he's thrown off the boat, his first true emotion. But slowly, he learns to love others. With his love comes great loss and great sadness. Everybody he loves, he loses throughout the majority of the book. Okay, up until the very end where we don't know what happens. And at times this is so unbearable that he closes his heart. He can't bear to love anymore. However, even though Edward has experienced this great sadness, he also says, I have known love. And he says this to the doll sitting next to him at the end in the shop. He says, I have known love. And this is the most important thing in life. And as Pellegrina's story tells us at the beginning of the book, a happy ending is only possible if the person in the story is able to love. Edward opens his heart up to love in the story, even after he's closed it because he's been in so much pain. And his story ends happily. Okay, little Maggie comes to get him at the end. So that is what I think, or how I think the story shows some of the key themes in our text. Now, the next thing I have done, and the next thing you will be doing, is I have taken 4 different themes or motifs in the story. Okay, love, loss, friendship, and the stars. Now, a theme is an idea that comes up lots and lots in a story. So love is an idea that comes up lots in Edward Tulane. Loss, losing things or people, comes up a lot. Friendship comes up a lot. Okay, they are ideas or themes. A motif is a thing that comes up again and again. So an image, a picture, or an object that appears again and again. And the stars are a motif in Edward Tulane, as his pocket watch, which appears at the end. Okay, but I have chosen the stars. Now, your job is to draw a picture or write down a quote from a part of the book which you feel shows the theme or the motif really strongly, and write a sentence to explain why this part shows this theme really strongly. I will give you my examples. So, the theme of love. The part in the story I chose that really showed the idea of love, and there are lots of them, was the quote that I mentioned earlier from Edward speaking to the doll in the shop. He says, "I have already been loved," said Edward. "I have been loved by a girl named Aibeleen. I have been loved by a fisherman and his wife and a tramp and his dog. I have been loved by a boy who played the harmonica and by a girl who died. Don't talk to me about love," he said. "I have known love." Why do I think that this part of the book reflects this theme so strongly? Because I have chosen this quote to show love because Edward speaks so passionately about all of those he has loved and who have loved him. It shows how far he has come on his journey. So that was my choice. Your picture or quote to show love might not be the same as mine. Yours could be Bryce showing his love for Sarah Ruth, or Aibeleen showing her love for Edward. Okay, it can be anything in the story that you feel really shows love. Okay, which part of the story did I choose to show loss, losing something? I chose this picture, okay, and you could draw a picture to show any part of the story. So I have chosen the picture of Edward and Bryce walking to Memphis. So leaving home and going to Memphis. I have chosen the picture of Bryce and Edward leaving for Memphis to show loss because they have both lost Sarah Ruth. Even though Bryce has a father, the father isn't there to protect and support Bryce. This relationship was lost a long time ago. Both Bryce and Edward have lost everybody they have ever loved. They are alone at this point. So I've chosen this part of the story to show loss. Your part could be anything, as I've said. It might be Aibeleen's loss of Edward when he's thrown over the side of the boat. I'd really like you to think about it. Friendship. So I chose the part of the book that had Lucy, the dog, and Edward. So Lucy, after her initial disappointment about Edward being unfit for consumption, so she couldn't eat him, but then she took a liking to him and slept curled up beside him. She sometimes even rested her muzzle or her mouth on his china stomach, and then the noises she made in her sleep, whimpering and growling and chuffing, resonated inside Edward's body. To his surprise, he began to feel a deep tenderness or softness for the dog. So I've chosen this part of the story, which might be an unusual part to show friendship, because I thought it was really interesting that in the book here we are seeing friendship between two characters where neither of them can speak. The dog can't speak and Edward can't speak. So the author has shown the friendship between Lucy and Edward through physical contact, how they touch each other and how the noises vibrate through them. I think that this is both interesting and very moving. So I've chosen that part for friendship. And the stars, which appear again and again. The part that I felt really resonated with me or really affected me about the stars was this point, when Edward was tied to the post in the old lady's garden, being used as a scarecrow. So I have chosen to show the motif of stars through the picture of Edward nailed to the post. At this point in the story, he feels that the stars are mocking him for being alone. They are laughing at him for being alone. This is a contrast to, that means this is different to, earlier in the book when Edward found the stars comforting. So when Lolly throws Edward in the rubbish at Nellie and Lawrence's, and he's taken to the rubbish dump and he's lying there, I think on day 4, he looks up and he finds the stars really comforting. Again, when Lawrence is carrying him home on his shoulder, the stars appear to guide him. Okay, but I've chosen this one because I thought it really showed how Edward was feeling that the stars were laughing at him. So your job is to do the same as what I have done, but with different examples. I would like you to find a point in the book that shows love, loss, friendship, and the stars. You can either draw a picture or write down some words from the book. I don't mind, but then I would like you to write a sentence to explain why you have chosen that part of the story. Okay, we're really looking forward to looking at your work, Year 4. Goodbye.